Okay, we left off where we just began the Mishnah on Ayin Chesem Beis on the bottom. Jay, you can move down a little bit. Misha nosan rishus lishlucha l'kadosh bito. Person gives permission to his agent to marry his daughter. To marry over his daughter, to locate a husband, to marry his daughter. V'alachu v'kicho. And he didn't openly cancel the shlichus. Didn't cancel the shlichus. But he went and he married off his daughter to someone else. Now, im shelo kodmu, if his act of kiddushin, when he married his daughter, had preceded the shliach's act of kiddushin, kedusha of kiddushin, it's valid. Because he's still, even if you appoint a shliach to marry off your daughter, you're still in a position to what? To marry off your daughter. You haven't forfeited that right. You're still the father. Vim shel shlucho kidmo. What happens if the shliach's act of kiddushin had preceded the father's? Kedusha of kiddushin. No. One second. Because you would say, maybe we'll see, the Gemara is going to discuss this. You'd say maybe that he attempted to marry off his daughter to someone else, maybe that itself is an indication of the cancellation of the shlichus. Right? No. Until the person actually does the act, that he did the act, that the act is done. He didn't cancel the shlichus. If he verbally would have said, now I'm tempting to marry off my daughter, I'm canceling the agency. So even if the shliach, his act now would precede the actual act of kiddushin, it doesn't make a difference because he's canceled. But he didn't verbally cancel him. Doesn't make a difference. See, there's a difference. The Gemara says in Gittin, factually, if I appoint, a person appoints an agent to deliver a get, and he cancels the agency unbeknown to the shliach, there rabbinically, they go and they revoke the marriage because they create really serious problems. Because what's going to be, the agent's going to deliver the get, the woman's going to believe she's divorced, she's going to get married, you have very serious problems, right? You have mamzerim. So therefore you can't cancel the shlichus without the knowledge of the shliach, of the agent, who's the agent to deliver the get. Here we're talking the other way. This is kiddushin. It's the other way. So she's married, she's not married. We're not talking about financial. We're talking about mamzeros. We're talking about, okay, we'll see. Yeah, the shlich has to be made. Definitely. No, by get. On a Torah level, it's canceled. On a Torah level, but rabbinically, because it will have the serious problem, it's still canceled. But we treat it as it's not canceled. But the question is, but factually, she's not divorced, right? We say she is divorced, but she's not divorced. The answer is they revoke the marriage, they annul the marriage. That's afkir rabba l'kdushimine. That's what they do. Okay, we'll see. Vim shel shlucho kodmu kedushin of kedushin vim enu yodea. What happens if it's not known who married first, whether the father's act of kiddushin was preceded the shliach or vice versa? Shneim nos neget. Both of them have to. We're not sure who the husband is, right? Was the shliach's kiddushin, or was the father's? Vimrotze echod, vimrotzu echod nos neget. The echod kones. Correct. Child of yourself in mamzer. Child of suffering mamzer. V'cheinu isha shenosna reshus l'shlucha. Let's say the woman herself, she's a fully mature woman, so she appointed a shliach to marry someone on her behalf. V'cheinu isha shenosna reshus l'shlucha l'kacho. V'olcha v'kitchen satzma. And she went and she met someone and she decided she'll marry herself. Im shelo kodmu kiddushin kiddushin. If her kiddushin had preceded the agent's, her kiddushin is kiddushin. Vim shel shlucha kodmu kiddushin or kiddushin of kiddushin. The Gemara is going to ask what do we need both cases. The Gemara was going to ask. Vim einon yodin, but if we're not sure who was married first, shneim nostin will get. Both have vim rotzu, echad nostin will get, echad kones. Same as we had said regarding the father. Utsricha. Why do we need two cases? Okay, let's focus right now on the Gemara. Doesn't talk about this. Okay, not this aspect. This has to do with something mamzerim also. Here we're talking yuchsin. This applies to yuchsin, right? How to deal with a problem. Utsricha. What do we need the case of the father with his agent and the daughter with her agent? Daughter as an adult. Now, we said it was not a verbal cancellation. When she appointed him to be the shlit, let's say the agent found a more appropriate mate for her, even though something. Let's say she never canceled. We would know factually that if the agent would, even if the agent's his act followed her act, but he's more qualified to locate somebody than she is. So she could say like this: if he would find somebody for me, then I don't want my act of marriage to be a marriage, my involvement. But if he doesn't, then mine will be. Right? Let's say she would have said that. Let's say verbally she would have said that. She said that to him initially. I'm appointing you my agent, even if I should marry myself. But if the one you find is better than the one I find, I want your act to be an act. See, let's say she would verbally say that. So then, even though her act preceded the agent's act, the agent's kiddushin is a kiddushin, correct? Because the man who he had found on her behalf is more appropriate for her than the one she located. So that's our discussion over here. Maybe that's her mindset. We'll evaluate, since she did not verbally cancel the agent, that's what she had in mind. That if in fact he should find someone because he has greater expertise in identifying a husband than she does, therefore she prefers his choice rather than her choice. We'll see. We would only have the case of the father. A man has the ability to evaluate pedigree. Right? He's more astute in this because he knows how to evaluate what a man is, what he is, various aspects of a man. His personality, his family. A woman doesn't have that ability. Meaning, since she didn't cancel him, so therefore would say her act is what? Is not a kiddushin. The father really doesn't care. Since he didn't cancel it, and factually, if the agent went and married or found a husband, even though his act preceded it, since he didn't cancel it, it's fine. Let it be. It's like a man just wants it, like we had earlier in the second parak. A man doesn't want his daughter to be. He wants somebody to take care of his daughter. That's all he wants. Yeah, but still, there is not to have genealogy. Isha daika mitzvah, not yichus. The personality. We're talking about the nature. There are two sides to that coin. You do, and you say, "Tova l'meisa tandu b'leisav amrlo." A woman would prefer to be together with someone rather than be all herself. But if she's already looking, she is looking, and she has a choice. Maybe she would prefer. This is her choice. She would prefer that over his choice, because here she sees it firsthand. Avaliyu, emalu ichpas leit shricha. Therefore, we need both cases. Okay. No, each one. Each one has a reason why we have to present each case. No, right, two separate cases. Okay. Itmar. Kitcho avia baderech. Now, The halacha is that a father marries a daughter as long as she's a naira. She's a katana or a naira. Naira is till she's 12 and a half years old. What about when she becomes a bogeris? Bogeris means considered a fully mature woman. From 12 and a half years onward, the daughter leaves the domain of the father, and therefore the father, unless he's appointed as the agent by the daughter, he cannot marry off his daughter. Okay? Now, could a woman become a bogeris within that 6-month period? If a woman physically matures, she could actually develop, and it has to do with the development, and that indication is the development of her breasts, whatever. So we'll discuss it like this. Under normal circumstances, it doesn't happen. It takes 6 months. What about on the last day of the 6-month period? The last day, it could be by the end of the day, she became a bogeris. She reached that level of physical development, and early in the day she was not. So in the morning she could be classified as a naro, and by the end of the day she could be classified as a bogeris. So if the father married her off in the morning, it's not that she married herself off in the morning. So what is she? She's not married, because she was still a naro, because she was in the domain of the father. But if she was a bogeris in the morning, and she married herself off in the morning, then her marriage is a marriage. The father acting on her behalf, his act is not a act. So what happens? We're holding at the end of the 6-month period at the end of the day. In the morning, the father accepted kiddushin on behalf of his daughter, and she accepted kiddushin on behalf of herself. We do a physical examination at the end of, not the evening, before sundown, in the afternoon. The girl, they do a physical examination on the woman, and they find she's a bogeris. Do we say, as she's a bogeris now, she was a bogeris this morning? Or do we say, no, she became a bogeris? Okay, this is important. We have to just understand this now. Under normal circumstances, we have what we call a chazoka de meikora and a chazoka de hashto. Let's say a woman is born a virgin. She loses her virginity. She loses it somehow. So we have a principle when you have initial presumed status and there's a change. When did the change take place? The last moment possible. Chazoka says it remains, it's presumed to be what it is until you see the change. So today I find that she's not a virgin. When did she lose her virginity? The last moment possible. Well, we'll discuss mikvah in a moment. The Gemara discusses mikvah over here, right? So that's what so that's called chazoka de meikora, chazoka de hashto. Woman has a cheskes kashrus. She's kosher, and then afterwards something happens. When did she lose the cheskes kashrus? Right. So we say the last moment possible. We'll see applications of this. But whatever we've discussed until now, it's not meant to change unless some external factor causes the change. What about if I have such thing? It's called chazok asui l'shtanos. Something, it's meant to change. Naturally, it's changing. For instance, a girl is not a nara her whole life. A girl is a minor. She becomes a nara, then she becomes a mature woman. So the state of change, so now the question is, a chazoka meikora, which is a chazoka asuri l'shtanos. A presumed status, which is not going to remain permanent. It's meant to change. Right? How do I value that chazoka? Does it normally, if you pit a chazoka de meikora against a chazoka de hashto, initial presumed status versus what I find now, I say the original presumed status determines what it was until you find the change. What about if I have a chazoka de meikora, which is a chazoka de asui l'shtanos? It's not the original presumed status is meant. It's not meant to remain. It's meant there's going to be a transitional. It's transitioning. Does that have any value or no? It's the equivalent of what I find. It therefore remains a suffix. You have the question. Do we say the chazoka dahashta says, as I find it to be this now, I presume it was that before, right? As I find it to be a bogeris now, I say she was a bogeris this morning. So if you say chazoka dasui l'shtanos has a status of a chazoka, but it's a weakened chazoka meikora, so therefore I pit one chazoka against the other. So it's not determined. So it's not determined. Safik mukudeshes, was the father's kiddushin a kiddushin? Was her kiddushin a kiddushin? But if I say the chazoka is not a chazoka, has no value. So what do I find? I find she's a Bulgaris in the afternoon. So I says, I find a Bulgaris now. What I find as I find is now she was before. No, so it's only the day itself. It's only the day itself. It's only the last day. Before that, it's pretty much the last day we find this transitional period. The last day of the 6-month period. So if it has value, so good. So you're pitting the earlier versus the now. So it's not determined. So it's a suffix. But if I say when it's in the transitional stage, it has no value. So I say what I find now. It goes back. What I find now, she's a Bulgaris. She was a Bulgaris the whole day. So then I would say the father's kiddushin is not a kiddushin, and her kiddushin is a kiddushin. Right? That's the way we're going to explain the machlokas Rav and Shmuel in a moment. Only the Gemara's going to say, because the Gemara's going to ask a question. What's the argument? The Gemara's going to ask the question in a moment. The Gemara says, if you know for a fact something else, we'll see. We'll see the Gemara now. Yeah, there are other cases. There are other cases. Like, what about a cotton become a godel? So the question is, does that have any value? No. Because we say, because we say, if you have puberty before years, it's called a shumatz. It's like a wart. A wart has a mole has a hair in it. It has no value. So you find a child, you check him. How do you know? How do you know he's an adult? What? No, but puberty only has value if you have age. But puberty without age means nothing. No, but there's definitely after she's an adult. She's definitely a Nara. Nara. So the question is, well, once she matures, and that's through the development of the breast, then she leaves the domain of the father. Well, the Gemara is going to explain this in a moment. Let's see the Gemara in a moment. Itmar. The last day. The last day of the... We'll see. Right. Right. Itmar. Kichu avia bederech. Her father married off. He was out of town, and he found a match for his daughter. The kichatz meir, she was home. She met a man. She accepted kiddushin. Varihi bogeris. And at this moment, she's a Bulgaris. She's a Bulgaris. Rabba Marei Bulgaris Lefonenu. So simply, what is it speaking about? Let's say she's 13 years old. She's 13. So we say she's a Bulgaris. And she's a Bulgaris today. So Rab says she's a Bulgaris. So if that's the case, we say the father's marriage is nothing. That he accepted on her behalf means nothing. She's married. Her marriage is a marriage. Shmuel Amar Chayshinu L'Kedushi Shneim. Well, we'll see. We're not holding. The Gemara hasn't yet explained it's the last day of the 6-month period. She's definitely, right now the Gemara says she's 13 years old. No, so that's the Gemara's going to ask. If she's 13, how do you even consider the father? How could Shmuel argue? She's 13, of course the father's act. Everybody agrees. After 6 months, there's not even a question. She's no longer in the father's domain. The Gemara is going to ask this question in a moment. We have to be concerned about the kiddushin of the father. Therefore, she's submigative. The Gemara says, Amos. When exactly did this marriage take place? When the father married her, when she accepted the marriage herself. Was it within 6 months? Are we going to say because you find her a Bulgaris? Hashto hu de Bogro. We say she became a Bulgaris now, but until now, there's nothing to talk about. 1 second. No, Hashto, I mean now. Today, but prior, she was not a Bulgaris. Now she's, let's say, 13. Let's say it happened, 5 months ago. It was within the 6-month period, so now you find her to be a Bulgaris. It's irrelevant that you find her to be a Bulgaris today. It's a month after, it's the 7 months after her 12th birthday. Right? 1 second. One second. Wait. Elul acha shisha. It was speaking where it's after. She accepted marriage after 6 months, and the father accepted. Is it even a consideration to take into account the father's kiddushin? Shmuel himself had said, from the state of Narus to Bagrus, maximally 6 months. Once 6 months pass, she definitely left the domain of the father, because we class her as a Bogeris. So what context is the argument of Rav and Shmuel? Can't be during the 6 months, because Rove women during 6 months are Nara. Unless we know factually she matured. After 6 months, everybody agrees she's definitely a Nara, a Bogeris, to the father. So what exactly is the case, is the moment where they both did the marriage, and therefore it's a question.
So if it was 12 months and a day, and she was proved to be a Bogeris that evening, but in the morning, the father married her, there's no question that the father's marriage would have been valid.
100% valid. There's an interesting toast we're going to see in a moment. He married off on the last day of the 6 month period. The last day of the 6 month period. So during this day, things change. There is that transitional. That day is a transitional day.
Even though it's part of the 6 months.
No, we found she was. No, we found out. That doesn't make. We said even 3 months earlier, if actually we'd find that. But the last day, even the morning question comes into question. Rav Omar Hari Bogeris Lefonenu. Listen, Rav says right now before Shkia, the last day of the 6 month period, we find her 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She's a Bogeris. The kiddushin took place 10 o'clock in the morning. So Rav says Hari Bogeris Lefonenu. Medahashta Bogeris, B'tzafra Nami Bogeris. You have a Chazokah Dahashta right this moment. Her status is Bogeris. As she's a Bogeris now, we say she was a Bogeris this morning. Shmuel Amar no. Hashtu da'isi simonim. Right now we find it. 1 second. So seemingly, what's the machlokas? The 6th day, it's a Chazokah Sui Lishtanos. Under normal circumstances, before the last day, things don't change. Here we see it did change. It did change. So the question is, as I said, the presumed status of this morning, does that have any value? It doesn't have value. According to Rav says, now she is a Bogeris. The original Chazokah has no standing whatsoever. So therefore, no, that day, that one day. Shmuel says, no, it may not be a Chazokah de Mikora to override Chazokah de Hashto. Doesn't have that force, but it's the equivalent. So it's a suffix. I'm not sure. When did the transition take place? Did it already happen in the morning? Or maybe it happened in the afternoon? So there's no way to determine that. So therefore I have to take into account the father's marriage and the daughter's marriage. She's a Sofim Kudeshes. That's Shmuel. So now there's an interesting tosis here. Nothing. No, she's an adult. She's an adult. The question is, in whose domain was she? The moment she becomes a Bogeres, a child is bar mitzvah. Was born before Shkia, and the previous night comes. He's bar mitzvah right away, because that's the day. He was born, even though he was born a minute before Shkia, doesn't make a difference. She left at that moment. She's out of the domain of the father. It's not a question of age. It's a question of, if I own something now and I transfer it to you, middle of the day, who owns it after I transfer it? Whoever acquired it. Now it's the same idea. If she's mature, a fully mature woman, she's no longer in his domain.
Why is this day different than 12 years ago?
Because there we have 90, because rove situations, it doesn't happen. The transition doesn't happen. That transition doesn't take place. It definitely happened at the end. The presumption is earlier, it didn't happen. Didn't happen earlier.
I understand. 12 years, 6 months is still in that realm of why are we taking that day when something?
Because that last day is the day when it usually takes place.
I'm just having a hard time. That's still part of the 6 months.
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference because it's the last day.
So it's not 12 years, 6 months. 12 years. 5 months and 29 days. So is that last day?
That last day could go either way. Earlier days, if you examine it, you find it should be, Rashi says earlier. No. Ernie's asked, let's say you would examine on 12 years and 4 months. And you find her to be developed, physically developed. She's a Bulgaris, so let's say you'd have the same Shiloh. At the end of that day, earlier in that day.
Why?
No, it seems to be no. Otherwise, what do we have to say? We say it was the last day of the 6-month period. That's what I'm saying. It was the last day of the 6-month period. It seems to be because that's when it's meant to happen. That's when it's meant to happen. After 6 months, regardless, even if she's, let's say after 6 months, she's not fully developed. She's a Bulgaris. Doesn't make a difference. 6 months is Bulgaris. Finished. Once 6 months pass. So no, then at the end of the day she's a Bulgaris. Before she's not. At the end of the day before that she was not. It's because otherwise what does the Gemara have to say that we examined her on the last day of the 6th month? Say we examined the last day of the 4th month. It's the same thing. It would be the same thing. What do we have to talk with the last day? Talk about any after 12, any day at the end of the day. It's push it. It's clear. It's clear from the Gemara. It's only this last day of the 6-month period. Ushmuel. So the Gemara asks a question. We'll see in a moment. I just want to learn the case of mikvah. Nachi mentioned mikvah. Okay, Ushmuel. Maishnomi mikvah. What's the case of mikvah? We had this earlier. Ditnan mikvah shenimdad. Mikvah has that 40 saw. So you don't measure a mikvah every day. So whenever you go to a mikvah, you presume it has the sufficient amount of water. But the person says, we haven't measured in a month, and you measure it. And the person went to the mikvah last week, and I find today it's choser, has less than 40 so. I'm not sure exactly when did it become deficient. When was the water depleted from the mikvah? Did it happen now, or did it happen a week ago? Now it becomes complicated. So you say, well, the mikvah has a chazok meikora. It has a presumed status that it was a kosher mikvah. So now I find deficient now. It happened now. Mikvah shenimdad v'nimtza choser. Kol tara shenasa al gabav l'mafreya. All the taros mean whatever. Let's say you have kalim, you would tovel vessels in it, and you put taros in those vessels. Since the last time it was measured, bein b'shus hayochel, bein b'shus harabim, temeos. Whether it was in private domain doesn't mean like Shabbos, you need mechitzas. Bein b'shus harabim, temeos. It's contaminated. We hold savikim b'shus harabim, b'shus hayochel is vari tomei. Correct? Person goes through, person has a presumed status, he has a cheskes tyro. You go through a field, and you have a suffix if you passed over a grave or not. What's the halacha? You told me, vadi told me, that you have a chazokah, because there's a gzeres hakosov, that when it comes to tumah, we don't follow chazokah. Not only don't we follow chazokah, it's vadi told me. It's definitely told me. That's rishus hayochid. What about rishus harabim? It's a public area. People walk there, so it's normally Torah. You go after chazokah. But in this situation over here, we say by the mikvah, whether it was rishus hayobim, rishus harabim, temeos, it's definitely tomei. Wait a second. The Gemara, I understand, but the Gemara now is going to analyze the case. Why? The mikvah has chazokah meikoro, and the chazokah rules that last week it was kosher. That means all the contaminated vessels that were put there were affected positively. So if that's the case, why is it tomei? That's the Gemara's question. That's going to be the Gemara's question, right? So what do we see over there? Then you go after what? You go after the chazokah dahashto, right? You say as it was deficient now, it was deficient earlier. So say no, it's a proofs to Rav, right? As she's a Bulgaris now, she was a Bulgaris earlier. So Shani Hosam Diika Hamid Tomei Cheskoso. No, there's a big difference. Over there, besides dealing with the mikvah, what about the presumed status of the person originally? The person originally was tummy, or the vessel was tummy. Before you put the kli into the mikvah, there was a presumed status, it was tummy. So if that's the case, so I have two chazokah meikoras over here. What are you telling me? From there you see you go after Chazokah the Hashto. No. It's not you go after Chazokah the Hashto. The reason why over there it's Tameh is because I have a Chazokah Meikora of Tumah. The vessel or the person was Tameh. That's the reason why it's Tameh. So if that's the case, because of a Chazokah Meikora that he was Tameh, I'll say he was never Tovel. Adraba, having mikvah cheskoso. Why do we say the mikvah has also presumed status that originally before at one time it was measured at 40 saw. Well, let's say a week ago it wasn't deficient. So if it wasn't deficient a week ago, so the person was tamei was told what kind of mikvah, a valid mikvah. So if that's the case, he's relieved of his tumah. Right? The answer is chosel fanecha. That it plays a role because you have the deficient mikvah in front of you. Wait. We're not finished. Hochanami hari bogeres lefonecha. Hashtu the bogro. He says, we say no because hashtu the bogro. That's what Shmuel answers. Hosamnami hashtu the choser. We're going back and forth. So how do we differentiate? Why by mikvah do you go after chazokah the hashto? And we say as it was deficient now, was depleted now, was depleted a week ago. And Shmuel, and by the woman, we don't say she's a bogeres now, she was a bogeres at the beginning of the day. Why do we differentiate? And that answer is hosam tarti the reyosa, hosa chadlo reyosa. And this is the Gemara in Nida. Over there, I have two chazokah. I have a chazokah dehashta and a chazokah meikora. Chazokah, now I find the mikvah is deficient. If you'd be told in today's mikvah, it's nothing. The man himself has a presumed status. He was tummy. I have a question. Did it was a transition from that original status? So I have a chazokah dehashta with a chazokah meikora of himself versus the chazokah meikora of the mikvah. It has a presumed status. It's a 2-to-1 because it's 2-to-1. I follow the two rather than going after the one. Over here, what do I have? I have what? I have a chazokah dehashta. She's a bogeres. I have a chazokah meikora which is weakened because we said it's a chazokah suglishtanos. Right? So it's 1 against 1. 1 against 1. It's a suffix. It's not resolved. Therefore, what I see, she's suffering kudeshes. We're not sure. Was the father's kiddushin valid? Or was her kiddushin valid? We're not sure. Happens in a moment. Yeah, but it's still, we're saying it's a 2-to-1. It's a 2-to-1 here. I still have a cheskes tumah on the person. I have a chazokah meikor on the person. I have a chazokah dehashta on the mikvah. The chazokah dehashta says to me the mikvah is not functioning today, as it doesn't function. It didn't function initially. When the man went into the mikvah, he said, "What he talked about? The mikvah had a chazokah meikora." Yeah, but when he went into the mikvah, he had a cheskes tumah. His chazokah meikora says, as he was tummy then, he's still tummy. But still, but there's a line, you cross that at a certain... It happened on the last day. When? It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. But whenever it happened at that moment. So do we say it happened at the last moment? Or the beginning of it? That's our question. Okay? Now, there's an interesting tosis here. Now, this discussion between Rav and Shmuel is a question what? The father married her, and she married her, so forth. What do we have to talk about the father married her off? Let's say the father didn't marry her off. She went, married herself off in the morning. If she's a nara, her marriage is not a marriage. Right? Because she's in the domain of the father. The father didn't marry her. Now, at the end of the day, she's a bogeres. Now we have a question. Is she married or is she not married? If in the morning she was a bogeres, so then she's married at the end of the day. And if she was a nara at the beginning of the day, so then her act is nothing. So although she's a bogeres at the end of the day, she's a single woman. So why does Rav and Shmuel have to argue the case where the father married her and she married herself off, and therefore it's a question? We should have the same question even if the father's not involved. What? You think so? What do we have to give a more complicated case? Say a simple case. A woman goes, marry...
The father is more simplified.
That's more,
Father
what is,
and Aaron.
how does that more simplify it? What do we have to get two people in? It's a regular case. A woman marries herself off in the morning, and she's a bogeres at the end of the day, and then on the next day she accepts kiddushin from a third party, from another person. Who's she married to? Is she married to the one she accepted kiddushin yesterday in the morning, or the next day? If she was a nara yesterday in the morning, then she's still a single woman, so the marriage for the second day is a marriage. And if she was a bogeres at the end of the day, she was a bogeres at the beginning of the day, that's the way we're going to rule. So if that's the case, she's already a married woman, so the marriage she accepted the next day is not a marriage. So what do we have to speak about? The father, they both married, she married herself, or he married her. We're not sure, was she a nara or was he bogeres? Why complicate it? Say a simple case. Yeah, but what does Rav and Shmuel have to argue, make it more the Mishnah makes sense. Because the question is it cancellation or not cancellation? So it's telling us neither cancel. It's not. It's a whole different concept in the Mishnah. Two different concepts. The father and a shliach, we wonder whose marriage is a marriage. Since he didn't cancel the shlichus, it's a whole different concept. Here it's the question, whose domain is she in? In the Mishnah, but what does Rav and Shmuel have to do with the Mishnah? They're arguing a totally different case. Because we would have examined her, probably. That's the reason. We would have, if it's the last day, he would have determined through examining her. Okay, we'll stop here.